Hello and welcome, dear sisters and brothers. Welcome to the Faith Perspective here on Catholic SG Radio. I'm Andre Achat. She's Beatrice de Cruz. Now, on the Faith Perspective, by the way, we get the opportunity to discuss trending issues or events that are happening in the church and in the world and in our families as well.
So once again, the school holidays are just round the corner.
That's why I mentioned families.
Parents are already thinking about the ways to keep their children occupied. And in the midst of that, arguments will arise. Tantrums kick in. Emotions escalate. Patience runs thin. So before we resort to saying, do it because I said so, is there a better way to approach the situation, especially one rooted in mutual respect?
Yeah. So today in our studio, we're very happy to have a guest who is a positive discipline coach. And we welcome Sophia Klopp. Sophia, welcome to Catholic SG Radio.
Thank you, Andre. Hi, Beatrice.
Yes.
Nice to have you. Now, Sophia is a mother of 3 kids, aged 17, 12, and 8. She's a certified positive discipline parent coach, a trauma-informed facilitator, and advocate for respectful and mindful parenting with Chapter 0 Singapore. And she is dedicated to empowering parents, caregivers, educators to cultivate authentic connections with children. Now, let's begin with what is positive discipline, Sophia?
Yeah, so we're jumping right in.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So
I'm like a child still, you know.
yeah, so excited, right? Yeah. What I also wanted to say is that part of all that introduction, what I really value also is that I'm a catechist. And it's because of my being a catechist is really when I blossomed in my faith journey. Because I'm a cradle Catholic, but going to church in and out. But when I was like sharing it with teens, it really opened my eyes.
Right.
And then I started learning like, I need to learn more about this like love letter from God, the Bible.
Yeah.
So it's like it all goes deeper into that. So I want to acknowledge that part because it's a big part of me also.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So you're a catechist at which parish?
OLPS.
Very nice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. They're a very supportive catechetical ministry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very strong one there
Wonderful.
Yeah.
as well.
All right.
Okay, so positive discipline.
Yes, that's why I'm here. So positive discipline is under the umbrella of, I'm sure you've heard positive parenting, right? It's like a big buzzword right now.
Yes.
So it's under that umbrella: respectful parenting, mindful parenting, positive discipline. And this is a program that's developed by Dr. Jane Nelson, and it's in over 80 countries.
Right.
In the U.S., here in Asia, in China, in Europe, and it's deeply rooted in the psychology of Dr. Alfred Adler and Rudolf Dreikurs. So it's based on mutual respect, like you said earlier, and we approach behavior with curiosity. Because, all in all, we all want that belonging and significance in our family, in our community, right? And what I really love about it is that it's also based on kindness and firmness.
Yes.
Sometimes we're, I've been punished so much as a child that I don't want to punish my child. So you swing to the very kind,
The other extreme.
permissive, the other extreme. And they're like, they're not listening to me. What am I going to do, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other swing of the spectrum is like the very, very firm, right? Which can be harmful, to the children. So what I love about positive discipline is like it strikes the balance in the middle, like the kindness and firmness at the same time, which is like the connection part. You stay connected with the child and you teach them about responsibility, how to be a responsible citizen, right? And the other thing about positive discipline too is that it's effective long term. So we don't focus on like just what's happening right there. We look at the broader picture of how the way I respond to my child's misbehavior, how does it affect them in the long term?
Correct.
How does it affect them as an adult? Are they learning something if I shout at them? Right? So it's basically, it's really a non-punitive method. So we try our best not to punish or do rewards because we want that intrinsic motivation, which is like what God wants, right?
Yeah.
He wants us to be internally motivated to love and to be responsible and take care of each other.
Yeah,
right?
completely out of free will, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
because
free will, exactly.
he said so.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, you mentioned connection with the child, right? I think that's key, right? Because if you're connected to the child, that also will make you think before you do anything that you might regret.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
So there's always the intention to pause first.
Yeah.
Because we tend to be very reactive, right?
Yes.
It's automatic.
Yeah.
Especially when something that they do upsets you,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's so easy actually,
Yeah.
really, and
Yeah.
to get angry. Yeah.
And we could get in that more later.
Okay.
I also want to point out that the word discipline kind of has a bad rep right now because if you Google, what is discipline? It's like to train to obey the rules, and when they disobey, you punish them so that they go back to following the rules. But that's like it's been many years when the original root word of the word discipline, is really disciplina, in Latin, which means to guide and to teach, the disciples of Jesus.
Right. Yes.
So and for me, the learning, the teaching goes both ways because my 3 children, they're 17, 12, and 8, broad range.
Yes.
They're my biggest teacher.
I'm sure.
So learning goes both ways among us. Yeah.
Okay, I want to come back a little bit to parents' side of things. We talked, you mentioned a little bit about, parents swinging to one side or to the other side, and this is because of how they were brought up as well. So if you were to look at, a particular situation, like a child is misbehaving, so what are some of the common responses that you've observed from parents, especially here in Singapore? I think in the Asian culture, we have a particular way of disciplining children, I guess. Even, maybe spanking or bringing out the rotan, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
could you share a little bit with us about what are some of the common responses? Why do parents respond in a certain way? And, if bringing out the rotan is ever, a good idea.
Yeah. So there's many parts to that question, right? And I want to talk about first, why do they misbehave in the first place? Because that's what's important.
Yeah.
To see that connection.
Yes.
So it could be they have an unmet need. So are they hungry, angry, lonely, or tired?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Do they have lagging skills? Like their brain development, the front part of their brain is not fully developed yet. So those
Frontal cortex,
exactly.
yeah.
So the communication skills, the decision making, the regulating emotions, containing your emotions, that doesn't come until
Much
early
later.
20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why they're acting like that.
Right.
And like you would hear grandparents say, "You were just like that when you were a child. You get a taste of your own medicine."
Oh,
The funny thing is, we're all like that as a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all developmentally appropriate behavior, right? So I imagine this, like I really resonate with this metaphor of a faucet that's on, like the water's just running, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at just trying to fix the behavior, you just put, you just wipe and wipe and wipe and wipe. But the behavior doesn't go away because you do not
That's a great
see
analogy.
the
Yeah.
root cause.
Yeah.
But if you turn off the faucet, when you find out the root cause of that behavior, then it stops, right?
Absolutely.
But it's easier said than done.
That's
right?
true.
yeah.
The common responses from parents are usually, and I have done this too because I've only gotten to this method of parenting, this kind of parenting, when my older 2 children are 9 and 4. So I used to yell. I still yell. I used to.
Disclaimer,
Yeah, yes, I do. I'm human.
That's being honest.
Yes,
really.
yes.
Yeah.
That's the hard part about being a parenting coach.
Yeah.
It's easier to guide parents in what to do with their children. But when it comes to your children,
Your own child,
it's
right?
very hard.
Yes.
It's very hard. So you have like yelling, nagging, threatening, punishing, and like you said, spanking, caning, which I acknowledge it's still happening. It's still happening here. It's still happening in my home country in the Philippines. It's still happening in the world. And I acknowledge that parents are in survival mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have capacity to be patient. Like a lot of parents are like that.
Especially at the end of the day, you've come back from a long day in the office.
Yeah.
And
Right.
all you really want to do is really just throw everything to the side and sit down and do absolutely nothing.
Yes, we all want to relax.
Really, yeah. But then the reality strikes. They open the door. Mommy, daddy.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier about like I think we talked about this, like spare the rod,
yes.
the
yeah.
child.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Better or spoil the child.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scripture actually does say,
Yeah.
right, to discipline the children
Yes.
where there's a need to.
Yes.
But then, so this thing about sparing the rod and spoiling the child, I mean, is spanking really ever okay?
Well, research tells us now that there are really detrimental effects, into like doing a corporal punishment to children.
Yeah.
I'm sure most of us have experienced that.
Yeah.
We think we're fine until we have children, and they're like, uh-oh, there's something going on. Why am I easily triggered, right?
Yeah.
When you look at the Bible verse, though, and what I've learned with doing Bible timeline, shout out to my Bible timeline mates, they really taught me a lot.
Yeah.
That you don't take it literally.
Of course. Yeah.
Because you also need to take into context the time that it's written.
Absolutely.
And to zoom out and see how does it play in the big picture of salvation history, right? So it's like the rod. They're shepherds then, right? So they don't beat the sheep with the rod.
Right.
They use it for predators, but they use it to guide
That's
the
right.
sheep. So that's what discipline should be, to guide, the children, right? So if you you zoom in and focus on that verse, you fail to see the broader message of God's love, because it doesn't stop at Proverbs.
Yeah.
There's still the message of Jesus
Yes.
and salvation,
Correct.
that we need to look at the broader picture. And I think it's the same with positive discipline. When you zoom in on the behavior that you want to fix, you fail to see the bigger picture of what life skills are you teaching the children with the way you respond.
Yeah.
Are they seeing that violence is okay?
Yeah.
Right? Or are they seeing that, what I say doesn't matter? Right? So those are the things that we need to look at the long term, the
Correct.
broader picture, right? And
Go ahead.
and as for why parents have this response, and I think a lot of it is the thinking that my child's behavior is a reflection of me as a parent.
Yeah, I sometimes I don't understand that. However, I mean, of course, if let's say, for instance, you're in church, right, and your child starts crying, or and you think, oh my God, I'm feeling embarrassed because this little fellow is making all the noise and everybody's staring at us, and what do I do? No, I want to also still attend mass, so what do I do? Pick him up and bring him out, or what? But then let's just move back a little bit. Before we get to the children, maybe I think we need to look at ourselves. So as a parent, right? If I know that I'm on the point of losing it, what should I do?
So I'm going to share like 2 strategies to start moving yourself away from the situation, because it's not going to stop right away. Like if you do this, it takes practice, right?
But it takes a tag team to do that. So it's either yourself or your spouse. And if you want to detach yourself from that situation, then you've got to communicate it, of course, obviously with your spouse.
Yes.
So that you can move out.
Yes, it's definitely helpful if there's an alternate person, alternate caregiver
Right.
for your child. But what do you do if you're alone?
Yeah.
Right.
It's very hard. And I'm acknowledging single parents out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard to do it alone.
Yeah.
And this also triggers a lot of our inner child experience, like
yeah.
how we were treated as a child. That brings up so many emotions, so many triggers, that shows up because of what our children are showing us. And there's one technique that I've learned, which is STOP, the acronym STOP. It's a mindfulness technique, which is STOP. So you stop what you're doing, right? Pause. You just pause.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're agreeing with it. You just pause.
Right.
And then T, you take a breath. Take 3 deep breaths
That
just
helps.
to center yourself,
Yeah.
right? And then the O is observe. You observe your child, what's going on. Are they, halt, stop and halt. Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired,
That's very good.
right? And then also myself.
Yeah.
Am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Do I need connection? Do I need rest? Right?
So all realities.
Yeah. So when you tune into yourself, what's going on, then you'll be able to proceed more mindfully, thinking of the broader picture. Like how do I then respond to my child?
Correct.
Right?
You see, you use the word respond, and that's it. But we don't respond. Many a time we react.
Yes.
And, a reaction is always a knee-jerk sort of action. And usually when we respond or react in such a manner, we later on will regret what we either say or do. Right?
And what I really like about this approach is that it's okay to make mistakes. It's really okay. And, I've done that. I've shouted at my kids, but then I make it a point to repair after. Repair is important. The follow through is important.
Yes.
Admitting to them like, hey, I was just very tired and I lost it. I really shouted at you and it's not fair to you. You were just wanting to tell me something and it wasn't fair and I'm sorry. And a lot of parents, I've been told this, in my workshops that if I say I'm sorry, then they're just gonna walk all over me, right?
The thing is, now I don't know whether it's an Asian thing or what. And yeah, there are many parents who find it difficult to say sorry to their kids. I think number one, yes, I think it's partly cultural, but I think it's also got to do a lot with pride.
Yeah,
Right?
it's true.
Yeah.
And I encourage parents to think, how are you teaching the child humility? How do you teach your child to be humble? Because, when you ask parents, you're like, oh, don't brag, be humble. Admitting your mistakes as the adult is a huge sign of humility
Absolutely.
that our children will appreciate. Like, hey, mommy, daddy is really trying hard too,
Yeah.
so we could do it together. Yeah.
And sometimes kids understand, after a while, and they'll give you a break as well.
Yeah.
But, I just want to come back. So, dear sisters and brothers, 2 words that Sophia used, stop and halt. So, can you just give us the acronym for both?
Yes. So stop. Stop what you're doing. Pause. Take a deep breath. 3 preferably.
Right. Always
Observe.
Right.
Observe yourself. Observe the child. And then P, proceed. Proceed with your decision. Is it to respond or to react?
Right.
Right? And then within that O is HALT. So HALT is used as more of the more self-destructive behavior. But this is very applicable, HALT.
Right.
So are they hungry, angry, lonely, or tired?
And sometimes they're all
They're
all
older.
of that.
Yeah.
Yes, sadly. And sometimes we are all of that.
Yeah.
That's so true.
That's true.
Yeah.
So if you've just joined us on a faith perspective, we've been speaking about positive discipline. Never knew that these two words can go together, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Sophia Klopp is a mother of 3 children aged 17, 12, and 8, and is a certified positive discipline parent coach, trauma-informed facilitator, and advocate for respectful and mindful parenting. She's dedicated to empowering parents, caregivers, and educators to cultivate authentic connections with children. And also, she's a catechist at OLPS.
Yes.
Yes.
Way to go. Way to go. Okay, so I think the next question that I want to ask you is, Sophia, the effects of saying repeatedly to a child, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, no, you can't, you have to do it this way. From a child's perspective, and I have thought about it after a while, all I'm hearing is no, 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 right? And a no is a negative, so it's minus, 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 minus. And if I do mathematics, minusing means something's taken away in a sense, right? So, are there other strategies? Are there other ways of telling a child, you can't quite be doing this, you should be doing this? But it's so instinctive in us to say no. So what's the alternative?
Well, so it's either no, you can't do that, or do it because I said so, right? Right? And
Yes.
I want to say that it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, it's part of parenting, because that's when they learn about boundaries, which is crucial to living. Right? Because they're still learning. They're not born knowing, that, they can touch the stove, or they could just walk the street, right? So it's okay to say no, because they will learn more about safety and also respect for others,
So there's a place for
There is.
Yeah.
There is. But the key is when to say it and how to say it.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So if you say, no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, they're actually processing more information. For example, don't stay on your iPad, do your homework now. So it's like, like 2-step information. Don't do that, and then you're instructing me. But if you say, like, let's do your homework and we could play after, there's more space for the head of the child to process. Versus the no, sorry.
That's all right.
No, actually engages the defenses right away, right? Like you get to defensive, like no,
Yeah.
right? So if you say it in a kind and firm manner, it gives them more sense of security and clarity, and that they learn that it's essential for their safety and well-being. So I'll give some examples. So a child just wants to run across the street, right? Which of course you cannot.
All the time.
Right?
All the time. Yeah.
Right. So you could say no. You could say, no, I need to hold your hand and keep you safe. Right? So that's okay, because it's direct.
Yeah.
It's clear that you have a limit, you have a boundary to protect them.
Yes.
Right? And you could also say no that acknowledges feelings. Like, I know you really want to stay up late and you need to rest for your school tomorrow. How about we read an extra story? So you didn't hear the word no there.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'm setting a boundary that we need to go to sleep, right? So no is really vital to parenting. And we could do it in a way that is respectful to the relationship, right? And there's a couple of ways that we could do it too. So we could offer 2 choices within our limits. So the 2 choices you offer, it must be okay with you. You're okay with both choices, right? So is it, would you like to read the story first or brush your teeth? Either way, it's bedtime routine.
Right.
But they get the choice to choose
Yes.
which one,
Yes. And that, in a sense, you empower them again.
Yes,
If
yes.
they make that choice.
Yes.
Right? It's they feeling, okay, so I have a choice now.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And so you put the power back into their hands.
Yeah. And it could sound differently for older children. Like, I know you needed to finish your homework, and I understand that you wanted to rest. We all want to rest. Would you like to do your homework now and get 1 hour of screen time before bed? Or would you like to rest now, and do your homework later? You decide. So like giving back the power to them, right?
Right.
And there's also another thing where we could problem solve with them, because they will keep pushing boundaries. It's human to do so, to test your limits, right? Yeah. So then you engage in problem solving with them. You're not giving all the solutions, but like, I've been noticing this is happening. What do you think we can do to make sure that you have enough time for play and homework? So you're open to hearing the child's thoughts and ideas, right? So these methods guide their behavior, and it also builds life skills of, decision making decisions for themselves, of empathy when you validate their feelings, and also responsibility. I still need to do my work. Right? Yeah. And then the because I said so is very hard to hear.
Yeah.
If I tell you, you do this because I said so, how would you feel?
Yeah.
Really annoyed.
Yeah.
Really annoyed.
I would be annoyed.
Yeah.
That's right.
Would you be willing to communicate with me?
No.
Right.
No.
So
even as an adult.
Yes.
Even as an adult.
Yeah, it's very
Don't talk
hard.
about being a child, but even as an adult, because I said so. Excuse me.
Yeah. So it shuts down communication. The person, the child, feels unheard. They feel powerless.
Absolutely.
Right? And then they start to, build resentment, or they could rebel. They could defy your requests, right? And it also hinders their ability to understand the reason behind what you're saying. And it hinders their ability for critical thinking skills, right? Because you're not letting them think, because I said so. And critical thinking skills is very important for the digital world. Because as they grow older, we want them to question, is this influencer really saying the right thing? Those are very important. And in our workshop with Catholic Family Life, we will get to do like experiential learning.
Oh, nice.
So it's very
hands-on.
Very hands-on, where you get to really feel it in your body.
Wow.
How asking questions can actually build wisdom instead of like shutting you down. Right? Yeah. So I'm excited for that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm excited too.
Yeah. So I guess we also want to hear your personal experience with your children. And so they're 17, 12, and 8, right?
Yes.
So how has, positive discipline changed in the way that you also bring them up? And as you also teach them, the ways of the world, I guess.
Yeah. And it's... So I really love this question. I'm also mindful about what I share about my children, because I know this will be in their digital footprint, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So positive discipline really transformed our relationship as a family. We do like family meetings to make sure that each person has a platform to be heard without any judgment. When we start hearing blame, you would hear the kids like, that's blaming,
So they can identify that.
Definitely.
Yes, because it really hurts if you're being blamed for something, right?
Yes.
And discipline really evolves as they grow older. Like, for my youngest one and younger children, you try to establish routines, you create a safe environment for them. And then as they grow older, you start to explain your reasoning. You do the problem solving together. You encourage critical thinking skills, and also how to advocate for themselves. So you become, like they're kind of like a gardener, like to build them up, right?
That's right.
And then as they become teens, you're now then the coach, because they're more independent. The way you relate to them when they were younger it will define how safe they feel coming to you with big problems. And you want them to come to you with big problems,
Yes.
or else they would just go to their friends.
Absolutely.
Right? And this is the hard part now with teens, is because they're trying to find their own self-identity.
That's correct.
And it's usually different from the parents.
Definitely. They
Right?
want to be different from you.
Yes, they want to be. It's very developmentally appropriate thing to do.
Yeah.
To know what's out there.
Right.
Because my parents may not be here for a long time. Am I going to be okay as, by myself? So allowing them to build that own self-identity, but also making sure that, hey, I'm here. If you need me, I can support you.
That's right.
So when they know that they have someone to go back to, it's more likely that your values will be, will be applied in their lives.
Right.
Whereas,
a little bit more aligned. I
yes, a little
suppose.
more aligned.
Yeah.
Versus, like you're fighting at home, then why would I want your value?
Absolutely.
It doesn't feel good to me,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
I'm quite curious about something actually, because your oldest is 17.
Yes.
And your youngest is 8. So as you you apply the approach of positive discipline, has the 17-year-old also applied similar I don't know, how do you call it, strategy in a way, when it comes to giving advice to the 8-year-old sibling? I was wondering if that has happened before.
The way he relates to his younger siblings, I could see that he's trying to be mindful of going away from blame, but it's more likely that my daughter, my middle child, is the one giving advice.
Yeah.
She's very motherly. So you could see
At 12.
that she's absorbing what we're doing at home.
Again,
And-
actually, we know that girls mature a lot faster than boys. And that's a fact. Physiological, psychological, all that. And yeah, I'm not surprised. My 10-year-old granddaughter is such a nene, as a
Like
grandmother to her 2 younger brothers, and she'll just take it upon herself to tell them what to do, when to do, what to so that sort of stuff.
Right.
She's already, But then if anyone just says, "Oh, why didn't you do something? Why are you blaming me? Why is it always me?" So she's very sensitive, and so I realize that also, and so sometimes I also try and remind my daughter and the hubby in the nicest way possible that she is becoming quite sensitive. She's already 10 years old, pre-pubescent,
Yes.
but she's already very mindful of herself.
Yeah.
She's self-awareness, and also what's going on around. So yeah, I'm not surprised to hear
That's
that your
great that
daughter's-
she's very aware. She's very self-aware. And, like all my 3 children, they're so different. Like parenting really is not a one-size-fits-all.
No
I'm
way.
sure when we grew up,
point.
it's one-size-fits-all, right? Like I parent the way you parent. I parent the way my parents parented me. And I've spoken to my mom about this, and we've healed from it. She's
okay.
really just doing the best that she can at that time.
Absolutely.
Right? And her parents too, my grandma too.
Yeah.
Right? And now she's my biggest supporter. Like she would send me like respectful parenting memes and all
Wow.
that. Yeah, so it's really heartwarming that she could see the effort. She could see how it's really helpful for the relationship. And with my 3 children, they're very different in personality.
and rightly so.
Yes, and it's just like with Jesus, like we're all different,
Yeah.
and he approaches us where we're at. So we approach our children to where they're at. This may not work for this child, but it may work for another. Like I have one of my children needs more firmness,
Yes.
and my other child needs more kindness. She needs reassurance.
Right.
Right. And my other child is very flexible, like he could do whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So you really, when you get curious about their behavior, you'll see like, oh, this child needs this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's okay that they're all different. but we have like one-on-one time with each to make sure that they feel loved. Right?
Yeah. I just want to, ask you, you've co-founded Positive Discipline Singapore, right?
Yes.
And that's led to many workshops and opportunities to coach people and all of that. So how can parents learn more about positive parenting and discipline? Where can they get information from?
Yes, so Catholic Family Life is hosting a workshop called Beyond Because I Said So, and it's about positive discipline. And
Beyond Because I Said
Yes.
So.
Yeah,
Okay.
very
what do you do beyond because I said so?
Yeah.
Right? So we'll do like experiential activities to really embody this learning, what I'm sharing today.
Right.
The kindness and firmness part, the curiosity questions part, all that. So it's going to be on the 15th of June, Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Cathedral of the Good Shepherd.
Oh,
so
okay.
Annex Building Level 3. And you could also check us out at Instagram or Facebook, Positive Discipline Singapore, or at Positive Discipline SG. And I also do a lot of work with educators and caregivers, helpers,
Right.
alternate caregivers with Chapter Zero Singapore.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's at chapterzero.org and also at Chapter Zero SG. Yeah,
Wow.
so it's like all encompassing because positive discipline is really a home and a school model. And when both, both speak the same language
Right.
at home and at school,
Right.
the child will just thrive so much better.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that,
Yeah.
Sophia. And, the thing is, like I said, I think there are many times, I've said this before, if I had to reparent, and now that I have grandkids, if I had to reparent, I think I would definitely do things differently, completely. But, so in a sense, grandchildren give you a second chance.
Yes.
Right? And to do things right.
Yeah.
And hopefully it also rubs off.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's like to do things that are more helpful for your
Yes.
family, because what's right for one family may not be right for another.
Absolutely.
But it's never too late.
And
never
situations
too
have
late.
changed
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
And so we've also got to realize and be cognizant of that as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For-
Wow,
for
this
being
is
with us.
exciting.
Once again, many thanks to Sophia Klopp. Sophia is the mother of 3, age 17, 12, and 8, and she's a certified positive discipline parent coach. She is she's dedicated to empowering parents, caregivers, and educators to cultivate authentic connections with children. She's also a catechist in Our Lady of Perpetual Succor. So thank you so much.
Thank you for being with
taking
us.
this time out
Yeah.
and to be with us and to share as well with our sisters and brothers, and hopefully, more of them have the opportunity to go and look up, all the things that you have as well,
Yeah.
and make us more aware, really.
Yeah. So don't forget to find out more information about the workshop that's happening on 15th of June. You can find out all about it on Catholic Family Life's website.
Yep.
And
a month. You've got a full month
Yes,
almost
yes.
to find out, right?
Correct. Yeah. And as always, a reminder, if you're listening to us right now on our live stream, the Faith Perspective goes out every fortnight on Tuesday mornings at 8:30 a.m. with the encore at 8 p.m. on the same day. And again, Wednesday 5 p.m. and Thursdays at 2:10 p.m.
And of course, if you'd like to catch up on this interview and all the other interviews that we have,
Or share with someone.
yes,
Share it with
absolutely.
someone. Yes.
Share, because it's going to be on podcast.
Yep.
So, and all that you can find on the Catholic SG Radio app or iTunes or Spotify. You'll be able to just share easily.
Yep.
All right. Oh, and you can also watch this on our YouTube channel as well.
Yes.
All right. Time to say goodbye. Take care. Bye-bye.